What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Avarice podcast, the Avarice trading channel on YouTube. Another installment today. Going to be coming at you with a movie commentary. Off the bat, I need to address something because I'm probably going to seem a little bit off. I'm in one of the weirder headspaces that I've ever been in my life. At least that I can remember. Just like a total gut punch. Just fucking rip into your chest and tear your heart out moment. So I'll quit with all the dramatics. Anybody who listens to the podcast or watches my videos regularly knows I'm a huge Portland Trail Blazers fan. I live in Portland. I mean, in the background on a lot of my videos, you can see my fucking shadow box I made commemorating a shot that Damian Lillard made in the playoffs like 4 years ago against Houston. Anyway, so today is, I believe, March 25th, so somewhere around there. And the Blazers game just got over. They're playing the Nets. And it went into double overtime. And in the the second overtime period, Jusuf Nurkic fell awkwardly and appears to have broken his lower leg clean in half. Like, not severed, but it bent at a 90-degree angle in the middle of his shin. So just to see that, the visual of it, is disturbing enough. I mean, he's laying on the court, they bring out an air cast, and you can see as they're going to put the cast on that they literally have to move his foot and his whole lower leg. It's like floppy. He doesn't have control over it. He like broke the center of his shin bone, like a clean break. And it was just one of those fucking surreal moments. There's so many different feelings that rush to you all at once. For one, and the least important being still in the middle of a fucking game. The game isn't over. It's been this dramatic back and forth seesaw battle. We're clearing to double overtime. The refs have been fucking us all game. Nurkic is playing in beast mode. No pun intended. His nickname's the Bosnian Beast. So then he goes down. Everybody's just taken aback and in shock. The guys that were standing next to him on the floor almost look sick to their stomach. You see them contemplating just how fragile this living that they make is, relying on their body and their physical performance, and they're sitting there just staring off into space. On top of that, now you're worried about him. Like, this is a major injury. He's a 290-pound man, and he just broke his lower leg in half. He's, I think, only like 24 years old, but it's not a guaranteed proposition that you come back from something like that. And he's just the nicest fucking guy. He's been on our team this is his third year, I believe. And he just immediately fit. When they traded for him, it didn't make sense to me. I was like, what the fuck? What are they doing? But he just immediately fit in, and he added an element, a toughness, a goofiness, all at the same time. And he is loved on that team and by the fans. And then moving forward, you have the fact that this was shaping up to be possibly the best team that the Blazers had going into a playoff run in recent memory. They were really putting it together. They added some pieces. when there's been a lot of confusion and a lot of shuffling of seeds in the West, they've managed to kind of stay right above all that. They're competitive with the best of the best. And so we really thought we had a shot this year. That might sound stupid to a lot of people, but here in Portland, people really think that we have a shot, or thought we had a shot. So you saw potentially a career ruined and ended, a season go down the tubes, potentially a game, which is of course the least important. You see all these factors just come at you at once. And I know this probably makes me sound like a fucking pussy. People have gone through way worse things than this in their life. I've personally gone through way worse things than this in my life. I just wasn't recording a podcast right after they happened. I was waiting for the game to get over so that I could get to my recording, get to my movie watching. I look forward to doing these podcasts and these commentaries. And so to see I literally just started yelling, fuck no, oh fuck, no, 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 in my living room. It was so shocking. And immediately, all those thoughts ran through my head. I didn't really care about this game. It was whatever. But this could be something that's very hard for him to come back from. And he's been making a good amount of money, but he's not LeBron rich. He's not set for life. This is how he earns his living. He relies on his physical body. And today, it failed him in a major way. And then now our fucking season. Because Portland doesn't get respect. I purposely watch out for it. I go to NBA.com, I watch sports talk shows, and I pay attention to see if Portland ever gets mentioned in a positive light. First of all, they hardly get mentioned ever. And when they do, it's usually in a condescending fashion, and people don't believe. We get passed over, overlooked. And then you have situations like last year in the playoffs where we get swept by the Pelicans, and that seems justified to people. So we were building up to something. It felt like we were going to finally get our fucking due. We were ready to make some noise. This was going to be the statement. And we were written off. People didn't even know if we were going to make the playoffs this year, or they're saying we're going to be like the 8th seed on some disrespectful shit. So to put it together the way that they have, Terry Stotts is an amazing coach. It was impressive. And when it's your team you're rooting for, it's one thing. But when it's the team in the city you live in, when you interact with people all day, every day on a regular basis that are also rooting for that team, you go see that team play, and you've been watching them. I've been watching the Blazers play for years, but when I was a little kid, I was a Michael Jordan fan. Everybody my age who was into basketball liked Michael Jordan. Like, if you had the pleasure of being in your childhood years, no responsibilities, and you just got to absorb Michael when he was at his best playing, you couldn't help but root. Like, everybody loved Michael. Anyway, I've lived here in Portland now for 16 years. So I've seen these ups and downs and the different squads. The Jailblazers, we used to be the laughing stock of the league. We had Rasheed Wallace and Scottie Pippen and Brian Grant and Damon Stoudemire. And then we went through some very lean years. And then we got Brandon Roy. And then Brandon Roy, basically career-ending injuries. They just compiled until he couldn't play anymore. And he was a star. He was our stud. Get Greg Oden, draft him. He's supposed to be the next big thing. He hardly ever played. LaMarcus Aldridge comes in. He's supposed to be the new leader of the team. And he's a solid player. He'll probably be in the Hall of Fame. But he isn't the leader of a championship team. And so when Damian came in, you could tell within a year or two this is going to be Damian's team. I remember fighting with people on Facebook about it because LaMarcus's contract was coming up and people were saying that they were going to be severely disappointed if the Blazers didn't renew. And I told them that he isn't the right piece to fit in, and it's Dame's team now. And I got mocked so hard. Well, look at me now. Anyway, so then Damian comes in, and we start having some legitimate success. Been to the playoffs 6 years in a row now, but we're still not getting that respect. They're not putting the respect on our name. And whenever we do get a good streak running or something, have a big margin of victory, I check the media outlets, and very little, if any, coverage. And a lot of it is dismissive. Do they have a shot? No. Like, that's most of what you get. It's a lot of fucking LeBron and Golden State Warriors and shit like that. So this has been kind of building and culminating for a long time in this area. Portland's won one championship back in 77, I think. And it's been pretty lean since then. They're not considered a large market. We don't get to host any major events. We're not a free agent destination. We kind of have to do it the good old-fashioned way and build a team. And we've really had something with this unit. I know that Nurkic's career probably isn't over. I would hope that it's not over. Medical advances today and everything. But I don't even know how well he'll be recovered by the beginning of next season from a leg break that bad. Gordon Hayward broke his leg like that the first game of the year last year. He went up, tip of his shoe caught on the ground, twisted his ankle around, snapped his leg. And he was out for the entire season. He was out for like 8-9 months. And then he's still not quite right. It happened almost 2 years ago, and he's still quite not right. So not only could this have put in jeopardy the success of the team going forward this year, but maybe for another year or two into the future. He was a major piece. I know that he's a fairly new addition, and that he's young, and that he's not an all-star, but he puts up pretty fucking good numbers, and he adds an element that we don't have without him. He is a pretty dominant big guy. He's like the heaviest guy in the league, one of the heaviest guys in the league. He's a force. It takes the pressure off of our smaller guys, because if you're going to double Dame and you're going to cover CJ, then Nurk is going to have some room to work, or one of those three. But you take Nurk out, and it's really a big portion of the success. We got Ennis recently. That's going to help. But it's just a fucking punch in the gut. I really felt like crying when that first happened. And that feels so stupid to say out loud. Like, over a basketball game? Over a basketball player? Like... But to see somebody have to... It's all those elements combined. The visual of him breaking his leg. God damn it, my dog's outside barking. Hold on, guys. I'm just going to pause it. I'll be back with a break that you didn't know about in a second. So, like pulling a rabbit out of a hat, I am back. So, anyway, the game finally ends. The Blazers managed to keep their composure and win the game. In double overtime, second or third best player on the team just snapped his leg in horrific fashion right in front of the whole world to see. And they finish it out and win the game. Anthony Simons is a rookie we have. He's like 19 years old. We got him out of high school. He literally looks 15. Nurkic got fouled, but he also got his leg broken, so he can't shoot his foul shots. So the rule in the NBA is if a player can't shoot his shots because he's injured, the opposing coach gets to pick anybody he wants from our bench, and they have to go in cold and take the shots. Maybe not expecting to play. So in kind of a dick move, like it would have been a much classier act to pick a decent free throw through, like don't pick our best player, but pick like a decent person. Don't be a dick. But in kind of a dick move, Brooklyn's coach chooses Anthony Simons, who is a rookie and 19, hasn't been in this game, probably wasn't planning on playing, and he has to just get up and shoot these free throws on Nurk's behalf. And it's the first thing to happen after Nurk is carted off on a stretcher wearing an inflatable boot. And Anthony gets up and sinks them both. And that was essentially the nail in the coffin. There was a three-pointer by Hood later that really did it. But for that kid to have that composure and that, I was really impressed with that. So, when the game ends, I don't even remember what movie I was planning on watching tonight. I really don't. And my mind is kind of a blank slate. I'm just in I can't fucking believe it. I really can't. And it was one of those, you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? Like, it seemed like the season was going too well. Like, oh, something's got to happen. It's got to, right? So then CJ gets injured, and it looks bad. That was just a few games ago. And it's like, fuck. CJ's hurt. That's it. That's the thing that's going to happen. The season's down the tubes. But then for this to happen to Nurkic, this is like the other shoe really dropped. It's like, this is the bill that I was finally, I would been waiting for this bill to come all season. I just knew that it wasn't going to work out this way. We aren't going to have some magical Golden State Warriors run. It just doesn't feel like that. I get that feeling a lot with teams and fighters that I choose to root for. I don't know if it's just some weird connection, something they're putting off I'm picking up on, but all my favorites seem to be people who were very, very good, but in the biggest of big moments, they faltered. And that's just a reoccurring theme. I don't know what it is, but I can think of a few fighters that are up there in my top 5 favorites. And they have great performances, and then when the spotlight gets on them and it's the opportunity to really get some shine, they just don't deliver. And then they just breed a lot more non-believers. And I'm over here like, this, you got to get behind this dude. He's really something. And then as soon as everybody's eyes are on him, he fucks up. And I feel that way sometimes about the Blazers, because it seems like 75% of the time when they have a nationally televised game where a cable audience is going to be watching them, they perform subpar. And then they get into the playoffs, spotlights on them, and lately they've performed subpar. So, anyway, I decided, since I got to push forward. There's no use just sitting here in my own piss and shit, dwelling on the issue. I don't know what the future's going to hold. Maybe it's not as bad as I think. Maybe they'll be able to pick up the pieces and move forward better than I think. Maybe it's not a total disaster. Gonna have to wait and see. It's one of those, in an era where everybody wants everything right now, this is one of those things that you're just gonna have to wait and see. So, for the movie commentary, I picked a lighter kind of comedic movie because I feel like that's what I'm in need of right now. I don't feel like having something that's deep and hard to digest, and not hard to digest, but I don't need any fucking gut wrenching, riveting shit right now. I just need some good old classic family fun. So to go with my state of being dazed and confused, I went ahead and decided to do this commentary track on Dazed and Confused. I apologize if this is the first episode you've ever listened to and you're like, what the fuck is this guy rambling on about like he knows me? Regardless of the presence of an audience or not, doing these episodes and these podcasts like this, in my head, it's like I've been talking to a person or people. So it's almost like I continue it as if they already know what I've said before. Maybe I shouldn't do that. The general process, this is an aberration. The general process for these podcasts is I start by making a cup of coffee. I sit down, I hit my bong, I give you a countdown, and we start the movie. And then if you want to sync it up at home and watch along while I do commentary, you can. Or you can just listen to it, and you will be able to slightly hear the movie in the background. And I'll try to give runtime updates when possible. Yeah. So with Dazed and Confused, it's not like I'm going to be offering conjecture, pontificating. I'm not going to be looking too in depth. It's just going to be joking around, good time. I'll probably end up talking about the Blazers a lot more. We'll go with the flow, but I need to do something, and so I'm just trying to pick wisely what I'm going to do. Listen to me talk as it was you'd think a relative died or something. This brings about a weird question too of like, why do we get so invested in the teams that we root for? I've never met him. He doesn't give a fuck about me. Not individually. Of course he cares about the fan base. But why does it hit me so hard that this dude snapped his leg? It definitely makes me realize, even though I'm not an athlete, I have a job, or at least a side hustle, that is dependent on my physical ability. And then if you were to take it even further, if I were to be laid up in a hospital or something, all my income streams would be wiped off the table unless they let me record podcasts in there, and I'm not even making any money for this. I don't have sponsors. There's no advertising. But the newspaper gig, I'm driving a lot. A lot. So if you take the odds that an average person has of getting into a car accident in their lifetime, it's going to be significantly higher for me just because of the nature of what I'm doing and the amount of time that I'm doing it. And you see how I could just take one little moment like that and everything flips on its head. Like if I broke a leg or an arm, the newspaper thing's out the window. Even worse, I could get in like a horrible crash. I see deer all the time. I could hit a deer by accident one day. You never know what's in store for you. Anyway, I've probably been talking for like a half a fucking hour already. Yep, 24 and a half minutes. Anybody who's still with me at this point, power to you. Thanks for sticking in there, brother. Alrighty then. So, we're going to try to suit up and do our duty, right? Show still must go on. Life goes on in fronts like nothing's wrong. Okay, so this is Dazed and Confused, Blu-ray version from 1993, and I'm pushing play in 3, 2, 1, play. And it's thinking about it. Now it's starting. We got the old style Universal Globe. Dazed and Confused was filmed in 93 but takes place in the 70s. Which is funny because when I was a kid, the 70s seemed like so long ago to me. And it was like, 20 years. So we're as far now. So if you slap my childhood down on a timeline and you put the 70s on the left-hand side and now on the right-hand side, my childhood would basically be in the middle. My childhood is to now what the 70s were to my childhood. That's fucking crazy to think about. This is probably too loud. Yeah, too loud. I like the nostalgic feel. It's period piece. I feel like I would have vibed with the 70s really well. Look at that fucking car. That's a Judge GTO. Ballin'. Handling and braking, all that would be shit compared to a modern automobile, but fuck, it's pretty to look at. I don't like that spoiler though. I think it's unbalanced. It makes it look weird. '76. So this was filmed 17 years after it took place. Like it's a period piece. It's like me making a movie about when I was in high school. Got the bell bottoms and the flares. Oh, it's Brady from Halloween 4. Forgot he was in this. Sasha. He's like a heartthrob character then. Still doesn't make sense to me. Like he's the cool guy, football player, chick magnet in this, and Ben Affleck's the asshole. Swap that around. Oh, it's you. Isn't she Jennifer Tilly's sister? I don't remember her fucking name. I don't know why I said fucking like that. Oh. What is that girl's name? Shit. Resident Evil girl. She is so pretty. Looking at the interior of high schools gives me anxiety. I don't want to go back there. Don't make me go back there. My son's going to start kindergarten next year, so I had to drop his registration and stuff off this year. And I walked in there, and the smell of the school lunch brought me right back. And standing there at her desk waiting for her to check my paperwork, I got fucking nervous. I was like, they're not going to let me leave here. They're going to tell me I did something wrong. I don't understand their authority in relation to me. I don't like it. Oh, they took Uncle Sam and they painted veins in his eyes to make him high. I'm really curious what the weed culture and shit was like back there, because we see in movies and we hear stories about how prevalent it was. But it seems like it was majorly fucking illegal. So how open were people? Because even when I first came into the game, it was illegal. And so the procedure for going about getting it and the trust that you needed to have between all the parties, and sometimes you couldn't get a hold of anybody, and so then when you did find something, you were concerned about making it last and securing your next score before you ran out of this one. All that shit's out the window now. All the secrets and all, like, it all seems so ridiculous. Like, someday I'm gonna tell my son about this shit, and he's gonna look at me like I've been smoking crack. He's gonna be like, that's real life? Be like, yeah, man, it's real life. Stuff's changed so much. I was talking to a girl I went to high school with, and she said at her job they have a keg in the office refrigerator, in the office lounge. There's a keg, and they're allowed to drink. She said it's not encouraged, but it's allowed. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. So we've got jobs that piss test for weed. God damn it, my movie's buffering. Fucking A. So I'm at 4 minutes 54 seconds runtime, and at the goddamn thing, nothing's gonna go right today. I'm guessing that for some mysterious reason, my computer lost its internet connection. That's what I'm gonna guess. And we're right on the money. What do you fucking know? It somehow manages to happen right in the middle of the podcast and almost no other time. It's very annoying. So it's now diagnosing whatever the fuck and resetting the Wi-Fi adapter. This is probably a train wreck of a podcast. I'm sorry, guys. I'm committed to doing it. I'm just not in the best frame of mind, as I said, for doing it. So now I can hear that my PlayStation has gone back to the main menu because it lost the connection to my movie server. So that's fun. My fucking God. I should just throw this in the trash and start over. But I'm not going to. It's not how I get down. Get down, get down, get down, get down. So, while I'm waiting for this to open, you guys like basketball? Maybe I should have asked you that before I went on that diatribe. Back at Dazed and Confused. Resuming it. 4:54 in 3, 2, 1, resume.
Okay, there I am.
Game on.
I'm getting it on. You know, with this perfect female.
So, I just want to dance. Is talking to the teacher's assistant from Road Trip out here in the, it's not a courtyard. It's not a mezzanine. Balcony? Outdoor hallway? Fucking California.
Oh, well, there's nothing too deep on this one, right?
Anybody in this area would look at that and go, don't you get rained on? We don't do open air things here. It's too much moisture. Hair today, gone tomorrow, cross-dressing. What are they listing? Overalls. I don't understand overalls. I've never had the urge to even try on a pair of overalls. Get those fuck out of here. You too good for regular pants? Too stupid for it? You need shit that goes over your shoulders or you can't keep your pants on? Do you have no ass? Do some squats. I should interject into this that Dazed and Confused is one of my go-to all-time favorite movies, which is a repetitive theme of the podcast. But why would I sit around and watch a bunch of movies I know I don't like? Plus, other than Netflix and Prime, the only movies I have available to me are ones that I already had. And the ones I already had are, you guessed it, ones that I liked. Oh. It's just a small glimpse into a point in time in a certain age group and what life was like for them. Basically, high school culture in 1976. There's hazing, there's rituals. The hazing is fucking bullshit. I would not be party to any of that. You aren't doing that shit to me, motherfucker. You aren't touching me. Like fraternities and shit, like, you gotta do all this shit or you can't join our gay little club. Alright, sounds good. Sounds like I win on both counts. I don't do the shit and I don't have to join your stupid club. Yay! We're this organization and if you have to join us and follow our rules. No, I don't. Now what? I have a great passion for exercising my freedom when people think they have me under their thumb. I get a thrill out of it. My first job was working for McDonald's, as a lot of people's were. Anyway. I forgot where I was going with that. Take it easy on my brother this summer, okay? Oh, my first job was McDonald's. And I worked at the same one for years. I got promoted to a swing manager when I was 18. Then there was an issue with who they promoted and put in charge of me to be my boss at that store. And I basically told them, I'm not going to work for somebody who can't do my job better than I can. And so they sent me to a different store. My first time being late at that store, I got suspended, which was not usually the course of action, the proper steps of punishment. That seemed rather harsh to me. So I decided at that moment I didn't want to work there anymore. And while I was finishing my shift, I arranged an interview at another place. While I was serving my suspension, I went and had the interview at that other place and got hired. So while serving my suspension, I text. That's right, I text. This is back when texting wasn't as valid a form of communication as it is today. Texting was something really only teenagers did back in the era I'm talking about. This is like 2006. So I sent a text to the supervisor of my store, not the general manager. I went a step above that, skipped up to the area manager, the regional manager. And I said, I didn't agree with the decision to suspend me. I'm not happy at the new store you sent me to. I don't like the way this organization is run from top to bottom. So today I secured a new place of employment. I quit. I will drop my keys off with the closing manager tonight. Mic drop. And she started texting me, you can't do this, you can't do that. You can't quit via text message, you can't drop your keys off. So I texted her back and I said, maybe you don't understand, but I don't work for you anymore. So you can't tell me what I can and can't do. And I did exactly as I said. I dropped my keys off with the closing manager, went and started building windows the next week. Don't take my kindness for weakness, fucker. A weird element of this movie is the pledge. You have to sign a pledge to not engage in risky behavior and like do drugs and drink and have sex. Like, fuck you, dude. I'm a young kid. You're only having me sign this because this is the stuff you did when you were a kid. So are you calling yourself a piece of shit loser? Because by work of a small equation, I figure out that if I do what you did when you were young, I could end up in at least as good a position as you're in. Are you not happy with that? Do you want... It's just a weird angle when you try to stop kids from being kids. Because I've been pretty aware of the subtle transition in my personality as I've gotten older. And there's always that wishing that you had the knowledge when you were younger so you could put it into practice, but you were a different person with different motivations. The information was there, but you just didn't care. So you can't really force that into it. It's just supposed to happen along that path. You're wild and crazy when you're young. You kind of figure shit out. You get on your path. You settle into a groove, and you get to work. And then you're kind of toned down. You got to kind of leave it up to them to reel themselves in, unless they're out of control crazy. But these fucking kids, these football players, Floyd, he's just trying to get laid and smoke a doob, man. He's still going to be your quarterback. Take your short-ass shorts and your tucked-in shirt and go back in your fucking piddly-ass office and pretend you're an educator. The cast in this is strong, too. Ben Affleck with that fucking wig. What are you doing? You picking up trash? What are you doing? So part of the ritual is that the outgoing juniors, so the class who are going to be seniors the following year, the boys all craft these wooden paddles and go around and spank the incoming freshmen with them. It's very homoerotic. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing the hazing, and I'm definitely not receiving that shit. You can fuck right off. The mom with the shotgun, me all day. Like, this is real life. You don't just get to physically harm me and get away with it. I'll fucking cut your brake lines, motherfucker. But how, I guess it was done to them, so that's why they're okay with it going forward? I don't know. It's just not cool to make people who are not physically competitive with you fear for their safety. That's something I have a huge problem with. It's a form of bullying, and I don't like bullying. If you want to try to fight some dude that's your size and spank him on the ass with a paddle, be my guest. But to take advantage of these little kids because they just started puberty and you're almost a man, that's not okay. Nurkic, man. I can't get the scene of that leg out of my head. They didn't show a replay, but I caught it live. I noticed what happened, and I was... It's like a repetitive stress thing, I would guess. I mean, normally repetitive stress would result in a crack or a fracture, not a fucking snap like that. But he's been jumping around for years. He didn't start playing basketball until he was in his teens, I know that. So he's not going to have the conditioning in his bones that somebody who's a lifelong player would. But still, 10 years of playing basketball seems like sufficient conditioning to get your legs prepped for the impact of jumping up and down. But he weighs 290 pounds. He's 7 feet tall. And I was trying to do some rough math and guess how many times he jumps just in a game. And I was coming up with somewhere between like 50 and 60 jumps in one game for a 290-pound man. That's a lot of repetitive stress, the impact on your legs over and over and over again. Combine that with the fact that he's got practices in between the games, and they play 82 games a year. And we're coming towards the end of the season. That's a lot of stress to be putting on those bones over and over and over again. Then you go that today was a double overtime game. He's working harder and longer than he normally does. It's just all bad. All bad. And then you got fucking assholes on Twitter that are lighting up Seth Curry, saying that if he had made both free throws at the end of the game, it never would have gone into overtime and Nurk wouldn't have gotten hurt. That is the most faggoty ass shit I've ever heard in my life. Take your bitch ass out, kick rocks, get out of here. You don't deserve to have an internet connection if that's the type of shit you're gonna say to people. That kind of, you can't have those kind of cause and effect situations in a basketball. How many shots were missed throughout the course of the entire game, and you're going to point to that one free throw and say that's why it ended in a tie? How about the referees fucking us on all those fouls that they were giving to Brooklyn and then not calling them on us? Or for us, I should say. And then this shit, the girls' version of hazing is they give them pacifiers and they cover them in disgusting shit like ketchup, mustard, flour. It's just the most degrading bullshit activity. It's a major element of the story, but this gives you an idea of the level of the supervision that you're dealing with in the time. Nobody cared. No adults are intervening in this. These kids are just wild. They're just out. I grew up more similar to these kids than I did to kids of my generation. I was a little more free range. And as a result, I don't align viewpoint-wise with a lot of people of my generation. Technically, I'm a millennial, but I prefer to be something else. That is a badass Chevy truck. I still like the old Fords better, though, with the bug-eye headlights. Mid-70s. It's my jam. That Adidas t-shirt. If that was a legit vintage Adidas t-shirt, you could get some coin for that. It's just got the trefoil Firebird logo on both sides. You're at his house. You know what my dad would do to you if he came outside and saw you doing this? Like, literally, I'm thinking about real life. My dad would have come out there and whomped your ass. Plus, you're a repeat senior. You're probably 18. It's probably legal. Yeah, threaten that little oversized bitch boy.
I'm sorry, ma'am. I was just
Go pick on somebody your own size with your goofy ass hair.
cool. There's some ruffians about.
Your entirely denim outfit and your big stupid belt buckle. Why don't you go wrangle up some cattle?
Oh, that's it. I fucking saw that, you little sack of shit. You two are fucking dead. You hear me? You're fucking dead.
Yeah, make death threats to me right outside my own house. That won't play out too well. Come up to my front door and threaten my kid. See how well it works out for you. I've got a 45 and a shovel. I doubt anybody would miss you. Check you later is just rolling a joint on the back of the car or on the picnic table in the parking lot outside school. That chick's mad annoying. Is that kid with the Adidas shirt like the only branded trademark licensed item that is in almost the entire movie? Most everybody's wearing blank shit, which is par for the course. They don't want to pay to use it, or they don't want to use it unless they got paid. So, I wonder if Adidas paid to be in this. That product placement shit, because... And I can tell that they're wearing Levi's, but it's just because of the fucking red tab. Some of them are wearing Levi's. This shit is disgusting. This is going to ruin my clothes. I'm going to have to take a shower. I'm going to have to get naked outside before I can even go in. Might as well just use a garden hose. And I don't ever get to get you back for this. You're just taking this out on me because some bitches did this to you 4 years ago. Like, why would you want to do this? They didn't... I don't get it. It's cracking eggs on them and putting out leashes and collars. Oh my god. How demeaning.
Will you marry me?
Open your mouth like this. Yeah. Oh, I let a snort loose. I apologize.
Whatever I like, I would definitely marry you.
What will you do for me? Whatever you like. Plus the age gap. If these dudes were to do anything with these girls, isn't that statutory rape? What were your laws like back then?
Now fry like bacon, you little breast.
I like your belly button. She's got a nice belly button. And a far less annoying voice than her sister.
I would like to be.
Still recognizable, but it's not that fucking Jennifer. Oh, who's the girl with the short hair? I could dig on that. Go back. Yeah, who are you? What's your name? What was the glass bottle I just heard?
What do you do for me?
He feels uncomfortable because he doesn't get attention from girls, so this actually feels like an opportunity to him rather than a bullshit gag because it's a hazing. So he's going to be a senior, she's going to be a freshman. He's a loser. That's what that means. He hasn't been able to find anybody who would date him in his own class, the class below his, or the class below that. He's going a full 3 years younger than him. Now short hair's back. Why don't they let you talk? You got an annoying voice or something? I'm glad that they at least have you in the frame. Really sick. So cold. And now you guys are gonna have to go to school together for a year. Them shorts. She just smoking a cigarette outside school. So laissez-faire. Supposedly more strict, but I don't see it. I guess what this was, bringing it back to me talking about how this is as far away from my childhood as now is, just in opposite directions. This was essentially like a nostalgia piece made for people who grew up in the 70s once they'd reached young adult, middle-aged status. It's like, hey, remember back when? It's like when I watched the movie mid-90s, or now with the advent of Netflix and all that shit, I just go back and watch shows that are actually from the 90s, or movies that are actually from the 90s. Oh, they take them through the car wash to get them Jesus Christ, what the fuck? I don't even think you can do that. Isn't that water warm? It's like a pressure washer too, right? Isn't it? I'm pretty sure that this would fuck you up. Maybe not back then.
Hi guys, you here to see Kevin?
No, actually came to see you.
I'm glad school's out, aren't you?
Yeah, I guess you got a report card.
This fucking dipshit. He's not on screen yet, but the guy's house who they're at, he's planning a party while his parents are gone, and he's just totally fumble fucks the planning and details up and gets caught.
Come on in, he's out there somewhere.
And they're so dumb. They're just smoking weed in his room. Like he's not gonna get caught.
Let's get down something, right?
I have a little bit more creep to me than that.
Well, what do you do?
You'll never know what I've done because I don't get caught. How about that? Know how to cover my tracks.
Yeah?
And I know when,
Gonna be alright?
how,
Okay, great. Well then we'll pick
see the angles.
Okay, okay, cool. See you then. Okay, bye. Bye.
Comes from sitting back, watching and listening. At the beginning of the movie Vice, they have that quote. It's anonymous. They don't know who to attribute it to, but it's something about while they speak, he listens. While they, I don't remember, but while they rest, he attacks. Something to that effect. I'm fucking it up. Oh, this dude's the dealer. Well, that's customary. You buy a bag and you smoke with the guy that sold it to you. The joints, though, you ain't never heard of a pipe or a bong? The window isn't even open. It's gonna smell in there so much. How do your parents not know you're a stoner? You got that fucking unbuttoned shirt. He's trying to feel the weight.
Hey, Dad. Huh? Did you order some kegs of beer? Well, there's a fellow in a beer truck out on the street that says you did.
I think you should be disappointed with your ability, or with how well you raised him. If my son was that fucking clumsy making plans.
That guy said he ordered keg of beer? Yeah, he said it was to be delivered to the Pickford residence.
Kids treat their parents like they're so dumb, but his dad sees what's coming a mile away. He already knew. What is that short sleeve jacket?
You guys know anything?
This is so silly.
No, sir.
I feel like it's gonna be too cold to just wear a shirt, but it's gonna be way too warm to have sleeves on my jacket. I feel the same way about vests. I never... What fucking circumstance calls for a vest? Oh, it's gonna be cold, but I don't want my arms to get hot. Who wears vests? What are vests for? I've never had the need or the call for a vest. I've worn sleeveless shirts, but they're not insulated.
Were you going to have a party here tonight, son? I don't know what that was all about.
Vests are fucking dumb to me. Unless they're saving your life because your boat's sinking.
Frank.
We get a lot of great nostalgic music from the era in this. And of course that Judge GTO. Fuck. I wish I could remember her name. She's cute. It's 2513 address, newspaper delivery champion. What? They got a nice driveway too. I get it over or under that car and it'll slide right up in front of their garage door. Watch me. I'm not gonna whip or nay, but I might hit you in the face with a newspaper if you ain't careful. Hamburgers. I like that the sign was fucked up and they left it. Ooh, all right. She's using vice grips to pull her zipper up. Oh, I guarantee those pants are so tight that she's gonna have weird fat rolls and a muffin top, though. And they're gonna rip in a very inconvenient time. They're drinking beer and watching the freshmen play baseball. How? What? Parents aren't allowed to just drink beer and watch their kids play, but other high school kids are? Good old Fog Hat. Every time I hear this song, I think of fucking Guitar Hero. Was it Legends of Rock or World Tour? Whichever one came out for the Wii first. Because I'm pretty sure that's the first song that you have to play as you start advancing through. So that's the one that you hear the most when you're playing with friends and shit, because they're learning how to play. So come on and take a free ride. I can picture being drunk over at my dad's and trying to play this fucking guitar all herky-jerky. I had moved out. I wasn't... That sounded bad. I had moved out. My girlfriend at the time and I would go over there occasionally on weekends and we'd play Guitar Hero and drink or play cards, whatever.
summer. Don't let it break your concentration. Hey, Mitch, could you do the rest of us a favor and leave through the gate in right field? That'll drive them all out of here.
Everybody's just so comfortable with this culture of spanking little boys with wooden paddles. Why are you attracted to little boys? Why don't you go seek counseling? This fucking kid, God, I don't remember his character's name either. A lot of the character names are irrelevant. But he's got this thing where he reaches up and grabs the bridge of his nose and squints. He does it several times and in almost every scene. Sometimes he does it multiple times in one scene. It's like this tick he has. This, and he reaches up and pinches the bridge of his nose right in between his eyes and squints. Do you see a single police officer in this entire movie? Guarantee that blonde kid has a flock of seagulls haircut 5 years after this. Maybe 10 years. But guarantee that blonde kid had a flock of seagulls haircut at some point. Why don't you walk and see if they catch you? Like, I'd be busting ass out of there. Old people get weird about high school sports. Why are you so invested in the success of this football team? Because you went to the school 50 years ago? I rooted for my high school football team when I was there. Oh, they chose 76 because it's the bicentennial. Gotcha. If you don't know, the United States became a country in 1776. So in 1976, it was the bicentennial. Bi being the root means two. Centennial meaning every 100 years. Cent, the root cent means 100. So bicentennial, 200 years that the United States have been a country. Now they're all gathered around watching this kid get his fucking licks, and they're like cringing and oohing and eyeing. It's a very sadistic satisfaction they're all getting out of this. I can understand getting a satisfaction out of beating somebody's ass if they're fighting back and they're a worthy compatriot, but this shit is just, you're just torturing this little kid because you think it's okay. I wouldn't go with torture, but it's definitely fucking uncalled for.
We're going up to the employment. You gonna join us?
Yeah, sure.
You sign my paddle later.
I got a good second.
And this dipshit, he's just savoring the flavor of being a senior for the second fucking time.
Man, all right, fuck. You know what? I'm gonna go find your little skinny partner Carl and his mom. I'm gonna take some. I took it easy on you.
You know what? I'm gonna go get Carl, his mom, and the shotgun, and I'm gonna come back and talk shit to your face about how stupid you are for getting held back as a senior. I'm gonna make you feel real dumb, and it's gonna ring true to you. It's gonna hurt real bad, because it's this unavoidable thing. You know deep down that you're a dipshit. I'm gonna grow up. You're always gonna be dumb. So I'll see you in 5 years when you're making my fucking Subway sandwich, dunce. You see a drastic scrambling of social status and shattering of egos when you get out of a high school. And suddenly you've got these kids that had all this popularity because they were a star athlete, but they didn't fucking pay attention in class and didn't care about anything. They were dickheads. Or, you know, the popular chick because she's pretty. And then they get out from under their parents' wing. And they have to start fending for themselves on their own merits, on real world shit. Because they were a high school athlete or whatever, but they aren't college scholarship material. They aren't going to make it pro. And you see a lot of them making sandwiches at Subway 5 years later. And you just want to be like, I could be a dick to you right now, but I'm not going to. But you just grin inside and be like, yep, there's your payback, motherfucker. There's your karma for treating people like dirt because you thought you had a little bit of status in school. Because your parents bought you a certain kind of clothes or because you were good at a certain sport. But now we're out here in the real world. It's about grinding. And I can outwork you. I promise. That's always kind of been my in. When I realized, it almost felt like cheating. When I realized that you could just work harder than everybody. And it would look like you're doing better. But really you're just doing more. Does that make sense? So I realized it after I was probably age 12 or 13. The first time I had to try out to make a soccer team. Like, once you get out of your youth soccer and it's no longer, there's 12 teams that are all in your age bracket in your city. There's one team you have to try out to make it, and that's the team that represents your entire city for that age group. This is back in Yakima. And so, well, I guess there's multiple teams. There's divisions. So if you don't make the first one, it's called P1 or P2. Look at White Lightning. So I didn't make P1 the first go around. There's only 18 kids can make the team, so I wasn't quite in the top 18 kids in the city. So I was on P2. But I was in the upper echelon of P2 because I barely missed making the first team. So I already kind of felt, I don't want to say superior, but I knew I was better than a lot of these kids. I knew that I was playing below my skill level, but unfortunately that's where I settled because there wasn't enough space for me up there. And I remember being at practice and thinking, I'll really shine here. I'll really do well if I just try. Like, I knew that there was times, like when they have you run sprints and stuff, I realized that if I just ran hard, if I just tried, I would do better than almost everybody else because they were just going through the motions and I was trying. And it felt like cheating in a way because I was like, if they just tried, they probably would do as well as me, but they're not trying. So you see it didn't feel like we were on level ground, like I was measuring myself against them when I was exerting more effort than they were. But that's kind of how life goes. It's up to you. And there's not always somebody there with a gun saying go. Sometimes it's got to be you getting yourself off the couch. Sometimes it's got to be you wrapping your head around somebody snapping their leg on live TV, calming yourself down and pursuing with the task at hand. So yeah, that was the environment where I kind of realized, like, these people might have more potential or ability than me, but they're not exercising it. So if I just exercise my ability as much as possible, I'll outshine them, even though they might be better ultimately. Shout out Matthew McConaughey. I believe this is his first movie. I don't know for sure. Be a lot cooler if I did.
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
You like that there? You like that? You like it?
All right. Hey man, you still driving in?
So back to the feeling like it's cheating thing. I've gotten over that as I got older. And I've come to the conclusion that you can have a lot of success purely based off outworking other people. when you get up into the upper tier and you start to have people who are highly talented with a lot of potential and they bust their ass, that's when you get extraordinary cases. But you're going to get up in above the 50 percentile just with hard work. And it seems very unlikely that we're ever going to have a day where 100% of people are working as hard as they could, because that would be a totally different ballgame. Now, you really have a meritocracy going. It's really going to be based off of capabilities if everybody's exerting the same effort, because your potential is going to be what carries the day. But that's not going to happen. You're just always going to have people who are willing to sit back and coast and let life kick them in the face and not actively attack it. So if you choose to actively attack it, the table's set. And bringing it home, going back to the soccer thing, I played on the P2 team for 2 years. I skipped a tryout. I didn't even attempt. I played on that team for 2 years. The next time I tried out, I made it. And I was probably the third worst player on that team. But I managed to rise up in that tier. So let's say I went from 22nd best player in the city to 16th best player in the city. That's not bad. And it was just based off outworking those people in between. The people I surpassed, I just outworked them. I never had a great potential or inclination for soccer. It never really came that natural to me, except for I can run and I have good footwork. I've never been great at kicking. I have short legs. I don't kick hard. It's never been a great skill of mine. I never mastered the kicking portion. I'm competent. I can do it to a satisfactory level. But I never had that thing. And I knew that I didn't have that thing. I would see how other people would do stuff and I'd be like, how does he just do that? I can't make sense of it. But I was able to get into that crowd just by working. Back before, I don't know if it exists anymore. There used to be something called the United States Soccer League. A lot of the teams from that are now in MLS. But Portland had a team. The Timbers used to be in the USL way back in the day. And Yakima had a USL team called the Yakima Reds, because Yakima grows a lot of apples, red delicious apples. You get the correlation, right? You're smart guys. And girls. So each USL team had a corresponding youth team that represented them called the Super Y League. And I was a member of the charter Super Y League Yakima Reds team. And we got to play all over. I went up to Canada and played. I played in Edmonton. I played in Vancouver. I played in Abbotsford. I played in California. I lived in Yakima. I went to Tacoma, Spokane, down here to Portland, Eugene. It was like a legit deal. I don't remember how I started on that. Check you later. Oh, fuck. Oh, but anyway, so I was able to attain a reasonable modicum of success without ever really having the ability. But once I got into there, I knew I kind of didn't fit in. I knew my role on that team. And that's something that gets established when you have, a sports team. Everybody on that team knows who the baddest motherfucker is, and everybody on that team knows who the worst one is. And those guys know it's them too. Because you get to see it exercised in practice over and over and over again. The cream rises to the top. You'll have small aberrations, but on a long enough period of time, it's always going to work itself out that way. It's no secret. Same with a fucking boxing gym, a jiu-jitsu school. Everybody in there knows who the baddest motherfucker is, because there's no hiding it. There's no secrets. You can't. It's undeniable. It's based off the results.
You boys leave. You can't come back.
Gee, If we leave, we can't come back. Oh, no.
Learning something is an element where you can outwork people too. You can work harder than other people at learning.
Man, I have my hand for a shirt.
And in some circumstances, that may be by doing and practicing. Maybe they just have
Son, you wouldn't know what to do with
knowledge that they've learned from reading or watching videos, but you have knowledge that you've put into practice and you've been able to fine tune. And it's a different thing.
We're freshmen, or all the girls will be putting out.
Oh yeah, dude, all freshman girls put out. I'd like you to explain to me the scenario where you think you're even going to be alone with a freshman girl for her to put out. Oh wait, I am projecting my childhood onto this, and this is 1976. These fucking kids have no supervision at all. That girl in the back of the car just graduated 8th grade. And she's hanging out with girls that are going to be seniors. They're smoking cigarettes, hanging out at the fucking drive-in restaurant. Time to chase more little boys. I would never be into this. You would have to personally fuck with me. I would have to have a reason that I want to come paddle your ass. And then the only reason I would do it would be so that I don't get an assault and battery charge because you're a minor. Just be like, I just paddled his ass. I didn't beat the shit out of him. Oh, Ben Affleck changed his shirt. Fancy. Ready to switch hit? Bro, we already know you're bi. If you even like girls. I don't like the long shot with those pussy ass swings. That was a good one because he actually hit the fence. You gotta have a nice wind up to it for it to be believable. That follow through on Affleck is shit. He's got a trunk full of beer. Isn't that stuff gonna explode? Hasn't it just been rolling around vibrating back there?
Hey, can we have some of those beers?
You can have 2 beers.
Just give me a beer.
Tell you what, I'll give you 1 beer per tit. Oh, they gave him a beer. Numb the pain. What are you wasting a beer on him for?
This fucking office, alright? Last fucking day of school, no fucking party, no fucking
Why did you just...
waste another fucking... Shut up.
What an asshole. Why would anybody be friends with the Ben Affleck character? I guess he is older than them, but he's not cool at all. He's the kid you pass in the hallway and you whisper to your friend, he's the guy who failed. He's the one. That story that everybody in the school knows. It's him.
Let me tell you what Melvin Coast is packing right here. I've got 411 Hobby Track Outback, 750 double pumper, that'll rock intake,
Car heads talking about their beautiful classic muscle cars.
Man, I know you got this thing out of a comic book. I saw the ad, $2.95. It's right next to the SEMO. Man, you see that over there? That's white lightning.
See that over there? That's white lightning. Oh, fuck. Yeah, I like to smoke some pot with my friends. I'm a fucking pothead. Got a problem with that? This is how teenagers kept themselves entertained before cell phones. They stood outside the Emporium and tried to flick bottle caps.
This man right here.
Who's on the front of his shirt? Is that Manson or Marley?
When you came here,
I was just about to ask you the same question.
Couldn't tell.
you got my stuff.
That fucking shirt with those baggy sleeves.
Like how bad?
There goes the pinch of the nose. There it is again. And again. Yes. 3 times in one scene.
What have you guys been doing?
Can we go for a 4th? Come on, little buddy. You were given almost no direction during this scene. Did you do this in one take? I don't see how you could have done it multiple times and this was the best one. Pinch your nose again. Here it comes. Here it comes. Yes! Yes! Did that count? Oh shit, that was like 6 times. 7. He's touched his nose 7 times. I think he just did it an 8th time. We'll stick with 7. And 3/4 of a blowjob, but who's counting? Oh no. The Tilly girl doesn't have an ass. That's a problem.
Face it, you got busted because you couldn't get away. You try and outrun abandoning those guys. I'm gonna be laughing my
If you don't have any muscular structure to your ass when you're young, there's no hope for when you get older. That shit's that's gonna be a landslide. Flat as a board by the time you're 50. I need a little something to grab onto.
shit, right? Idiot bunks a senior so he can get
Let's get it juicy.
Is that legal? Damn you, Carl!
You fucking dick. Now somebody's gonna drive over that. Maybe you do deserve to get paddled. Why don't you go home and read a book, man? Maybe you can pass senior year this try, man. Why doesn't anybody come at him and talk to him like a dumbass? I'm not saying go out of your way to make fun of the guy for being stupid, but if he's gonna be a dick to you, put him in his fucking place. Like, listen, man, you're remedial at best. Okay?
That's where all the girls are.
I know that I can outthink you by virtue of the fact that you failed the 12th grade in 1976. I think you have to make a concerted effort to do that. I don't even think you have to know how to read.
So you're a freshman, right? Yeah.
Be a lot cooler if you weren't.
Freshman chicks like.
Is that supposed to be a pack of cigarettes in his sleeve? Because it looks way too small. Looks like a wad of toilet paper or something. I guess maybe it's a soft pack.
Cool girl. I get older.
He's got on like
Same age.
salmon colored jeans. I've never noticed that before. He's got these pinkish burnt sienna colored jeans on.
You wanna come along? Yeah. Why not?
That floral pattern shirt's fly. Get that in a slim fit.
I'm gonna give you shotgun.
War is over and slim fit won.
Only 'cause I'm going inside.
I don't mind a slim fit, but I still go back to my baggy shit occasionally too. My lounging shit.
Hey man, who's bowling?
Back in the day when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. But some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. See, I thought that the rise of baggy clothes when I was a kid, because I'm just observing and trying to draw conclusions. I assumed that baggy clothes became popular because people were trying to hide that they were fat. I really thought that's what it was. And so then I was always like, oh, I'm wearing all these baggy clothes and they don't fit me right and it makes me look weird. So then when we went to slim fit, I was like, now my chubby motherfuckers are in trouble. You can't hide your gut in a fucking slim fit shirt and it fits me perfect. So sexy. Skinny jeans, some are okay, some I have kind of thick calves. Sometimes I have trouble with my calves, but I get skinny jeans that the inseam is too long, so that I have kind of a bunch up at the bottom, and that helps them fit better. If I get ones with the inseam that I'm supposed to have, my calves are too big, and it's not comfortable on the junk. I gotta be honest. Gotta deal with some fucking hefty balls, and they get crushed. And trying to get your phone out of your pocket. There is something about it though. It's like wearing a nice pair of like Under Armour tights, like workout tights, Under Armour. It's like you put them on and you're just like, it's like an extra layer of skin. You feel like you're wearing a superhero outfit or something. You get a little bit of that with the skinny jeans. No, I'm not talking about like fucking painted on girls legging style skinny jeans. And I don't do the high water shit either. I'm from an era where your shorts went below your knees and your pants covered your shoes. And I'm not saying it still has to be that way or that's even what I like, but that's where I come from. So this fucking high water shit where your pants end 3 inches before your shoe and you have your whole ankle and everything showing, that looks stupid to me. That's how poor people dressed and nerds. Like literally, that's how you dressed if you couldn't afford pants. Like if that's the only pants you had, that's how you dressed. Or if you were old and you'd had one pair of pants for 50 years and you never bothered to get a new pair when you gained some weight and they don't fit right anymore. That one time your wife accidentally put a little bit of whatever in the laundry and shrunk them. You know what I mean. I like joggers too, as long as they fit right. They gotta have the right. I don't even know what I'm. They gotta be streamlined the right way, or like when I squat down, they pull down in the back, or they'll rise up. And ironically, the cheapest pair I have are the best fitting ones. They're not cheap. I got them at the employee store, but.
Look me in the eye, pal.
I don't know what you're talking about, sir, but I suggest that you...
You busted it, didn't you? Tampering with mailboxes is a felony offense.
Well, I think pointing a loaded gun at high school kids is frowned upon as well.
I think you boys ought to get out of the car.
This is a ballsy move.
Nice and slow.
Ooh, he falls down. That's why he doesn't get a shot off. He still should have hit that back window. You off from the projects, because you ain't hit shit. This is the I just want to dance speech, I'm pretty sure. She's got a little bit of a Molly Ringwald thing going on.
Did you know Ford was on the Warren Commission?
Who cares? He's out of there this fall. Look, we need some alcohol. That's about it.
Nerds like them drink alcohol? I always thought nerds were nerds because they weren't interested in that kind of stuff. If they were, they would just be hanging out with everybody else, doing this stuff everybody else is doing, right? Whoa, the pothead smoking a cigarette. It's like me. I'm shocked. Pinball machines and arcade and pool. This is a fucking hangout. This is how you It is illegal for minors under the age of 18 to consume alcohol on these premises. The drinking age was 18. Interesting. And now the legal age to buy cigarettes is 21. But weed's legal. Yes, it is legal.
I mean, God, don't you ever feel like everything we do and everything we do
Smoking some kind of fruity shit today. No homo. Like it's got a citrusy kind of a berry scent and taste to it. It's not bad. It's no sour diesel, but it fits the bill. Any port in a storm, right? Throw some D's on that bitch. Oh. Oh yeah, I just want to dance.
Green thing every day and have lots of calcium. It's very important for young mothers to
Oh my god. He's selling this pregnant lady booze and cigarettes and telling her how she needs to have lots of calcium. They just didn't know. They just didn't know. That's one of the problems I have with the studies put out and statistics on lung cancer. I know smoking gives you lung cancer. I'm not naive to that. What I'm saying though is there was a point in time where so many more people were smoking and they were smoking everywhere. You were saturated with it. You were smoking indoors. You were smoking on planes. You were smoking in the fucking doctor's office. You were just absorbing that, even if you weren't a smoker. And we've cut back on that so fucking hard that we haven't necessarily seen the results yet from that cutback. All the youngins who benefited from all these... I mean, you can't even smoke in the car if you have your kid in there anymore. My parents smoked in the house right next to me while we were watching TV when I was a kid.
Do you guys want to get him back?
So that drastic change, I feel like we haven't exactly seen the payoff of that yet, of people not just saturating themselves with smoke 24/7, even if for non-smokers. Because you see old school stuff like this where everybody's smoking all the time in every room. Just always smoke, 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 smoke. So that's, you hear people who, he got lung cancer, never smoked a day in his life. It's like bullshit. He secondhand smoked 3 packs a day. Look at the environment he lived in. His fucking respiratory doctor was smoking in the office. And make sure you take your vitamins.
Y'all are an embarrassment to the sport of pool, and you should be proud that he let you play. And my take, you are the worst pool player I've ever seen in my life.
Slow ride. Take it easy. It must be, they didn't want to pay licensing for too many songs, so they're repeating Slow Ride. Slow down, I'm in the mood. Pow, 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 pow. The music is right. Y'all gonna have to listen to the movie for a minute because I gotta take a piss.
Hey man, the Julie chick loves you. Yeah. You want it? Gotta play it cool, you know. Can't let her know how much you like her, because if she knows, she'll dump you like that. Believe me. Like, if she asks you to ride out there with her, you don't do it. You say something like, nah, got my own right, but maybe I'll see you later. Sounds stupid, doesn't it? It works. You got another one, huh, fellas? Whoa, guys. You wouldn't mind if I went first here, would you? Is that all right? It's kind of a personal thing between me and this little piece of shit here. So,
And we back. Did you know you deserved it? Oh, they're setting him up right here. They're gonna dump the paint on him. Still not quite a good enough payoff. I need him to experience a little bit of physical punishment as a result of what he's doing to these kids and just how much of a jackass he is. Yeah, jackass.
I would like to dedicate this first lick to your mother.
I mean, covering him with paint is pretty fucking rude, but it'll wash off. And he'll get over it a lot sooner than he would a black eye or a broken nose. He'd have to look in the mirror and remember that for days. Other people to ask him about it. He has to walk around in public with the mark. That's what I would want for him. Maybe work the body a little bit just to get in some added damage that's not so visible, so you can claim you didn't do as much as he did. That's a classic move. Peep game. So, if you want to give somebody a nice punch, but you're worried about consequences, slug them in the stomach once. Especially if you're not worried about any retaliation, like you don't think that they actually want to fight, but you think that they're deserving of a nice smack. Just give them a little gut punch. There's not going to be any evidence. They're going to complain, and you just plead ignorance. You don't know what the fuck happened. I don't know what they're talking about. I think he ate something bad. He just started rolling around on the ground, holding his stomach. He flopped on the ground like Ronaldinho. I meant to say Ronaldo. Flopped on the ground like Ronaldo. It's just going to be their story against yours. There's no proof. Unless you break a rib or something. It's got to be... Don't give it everything you got. Just a nice little... Just pop it in there. Just let them know you mean business. Is that Peter Frampton? It never gets old. It's the cliche McConaughey performance, and it's his first one.
You heard about the party? The
That's remarkable. He's full on Matthew McConaughey right out of the gate. He's a finished product. Like, it's not like an awkward role where he feels like he's finding his feet and you don't really see what he's going to become. It's like, that's Matthew McConaughey.
Listen, you ought to just stick each in the car with now and get in with us, but that's alright. Worry about that later.
He's a bit of a piece of shit too, though. He's a hilarious character, but he's well out of high school and still hanging out with these kids. And he's gaming on young high school girls when he's in his 20s. That's bullshit. That's predator behavior. And he's just looking for a quick bang and get out. And these girls are holding him up on a pedestal and thinking that they're going to get married, and they're not his age. They don't understand he's a loser. They're viewing him on a level playing field with their peers, but he's not a peer. He's supposed to be 4 years more mature or whatever the case may be. Thus, to his peers, he's a loser. She can't see that because she's not at that maturity level yet. He's inherently a loser because he has to fish down in the bottom for the young girls like that. I'll stand by that. If you want to try to defend dating younger girls, to me, you can go fuck yourself with a cactus. Now, there is a gray area in that, because the law can be... When I was 18, my girlfriend was 15. And we met when she was 14 and I was 17. But we had a multi-year relationship. It wasn't just like I was looking to take advantage of her and get out. I legitimately loved her, so it was just like our birthdays were just a few months farther apart than they should have been. But she did not look her age either. She knows who she is. I won't say any names. And that was a culminated in kind of one of the most awkward situations I've ever had in my life. Because her parents were hardcore Christians. Her uncle was the pastor at the church. Her parents would not let me come over to her house and see her unless I went to church with them on Sunday. I was allowed to go over there on Sundays and Wednesdays for set periods of time, and I couldn't come on Wednesday if I didn't go on Sunday. Those were the rules. So anyway, fast forward to over a year into the relationship, and they find out that we've been having sex.
Just now, man, you walked past. What'd you say?
And I can tell something's up because I call her,
Someone's cooking some reefer.
and I used to call her while I was at work almost every night. She was obsessive about talking on the phone. This is back in the days when we had nights and weekends. You know, your minutes were limited, and you would have nights and weekends were free, and that started at a certain time. I would pay extra for my nights and weekends to start early just so I could save my minutes. I had 1,000 minutes a month, and I would regularly go over it, and almost the only person I would talk to on the phone was her. Anyhow, I'm working at McDonald's, I'm counting my deposit in the office, and I call her like I usually would. I had a badass Bluetooth headset to go with my Samsung A900. What? Stunting on them. Anyway, so I called, and I always felt uncomfortable around her parents because I knew they didn't like me. They were super judgy. I'm an atheist. To them, it was never going to be a good fit, and they were trying to separate us from the jump. They never wanted me involved there. They never wanted me in there. And I don't mean in there like in her box. I mean, they never wanted us to be together. They did not like it. So when I would call, I would always get this weird uptight feeling, and I wanted to be polite, and I didn't know how to ask, and so I would say, "Is such and such there, please?" And so I called, her mom answered, I said that, and the response I got was different than any other time. She had a certain tone to her, and she said she's not allowed to come to the phone right now. And I went, oh fuck, something's up. So the next time I was supposed to see her was on that Sunday. This is the struggle I would go through to see this girl. At that point in time, she was the most beautiful girl that I thought I'd ever seen, that ever was interested in me. So I know I'm getting deep into the woods and I'm ignoring the movie. It is what it is. Maybe I'll readdress this movie later, but it's also kind of a comedy. There's not a lot to talk about, and I'm going on a vibe here. Anyway, so at this point in time in my life, I'm working at McDonald's, and I'm going to high school. I'm dating her, and I think I was doing my writing class at the community college as well. So I closed 3 days a week at McDonald's, which was a 4 p.m. to 12:30, just after midnight shift. And then on weekends, Friday night, Saturday night, I worked graveyard, which was from 9 p.m. until 5 a.m. So you could see how that would be problematic when I'm required to attend church with them on Sundays if I want to be able to go over there and hang out on Wednesdays. And it always had to be at her house, always with supervision. They were super strict. Apparently not strict enough. We found a way, but that's neither here nor there at the moment. So you can do that math. Church happens early in the morning, right? I got off work Sunday mornings at 5 a.m. every Sunday morning my entire senior year, even the summer before senior year. I started it in the summer and I continued it. I've always been kind of an insomniac. It was just my jam. Plus, I liked the vibe of graveyard because there was work to do, but there wasn't a lot of people to help. There wasn't a lot of variation. You just had to put your head down and wash dishes. You could listen to music. Nobody was around to tell you what to do. The inside was closed, and you had very few customers, so it was just work. And you could work hard and get done early and then just chill. So anyway, I would get off work at 5 in the morning, drive home, and have to fall asleep as soon as I could, which never happened before 5:45, 6. You got to change out of your clothes. You got to unwind a little bit. You got to brush your teeth, all that shit. I would then have to wake up at 9:30 with a maximum of 3.5 hours sleep and drive my ass over to their church and sit through the service, barely functioning. At this point in my life, I had not built that muscle up, the short sleep, tired, functioning muscle. I was horrible at it. I couldn't even wake up barely half the time. She would sit there and call me like 15 times. She had Sunday school. She would get out of Sunday school and call me and call me and call me until she got a hold of me to make sure I was on my way. Anyway, so I would be half dead walking into this place, sitting there. I don't buy into this stuff anyway, and I'm tired as hell. It was an undertaking for sure, and I would do it every fucking Sunday. And then usually I would have to be at work at 4 p.m. Sunday afternoon and close again and get off work at midnight. So those were rough times, rough stretches. And it just got to where eventually it wasn't worth it to keep doing it. I was just doing so much. But anyway, so back to the story. After the phone call where her mom says she's not available to talk right now, and I can tell something's up, I'm supposed to go to church with them the next morning. Or no, 2 mornings later. She calls me Saturday and tells me not to come to church, but to come over to their house at like noon or 1 p.m. after they get home from church. And I was like, oh, fuck, something's up. So I go over there, and they're all seated at the table, her mom, her dad, and her, the dining room table. And she's got this look on her face, like she's scared shitless, like she's super worried about what's about to go down. And she gets up to give me a hug, and she whispers in my ear, "They don't know such and such." So she's giving me a spoiler. She's letting me know that they know some stuff, but she's also letting me know that they only know some of the stuff. So don't bring up the stuff they don't know, which super savvy on her part. I mean, you gotta respect that fucking gangster. She used her moment to give me a hug to communicate to me how to help us out. I had honestly forgotten about that until just now. That is such a solid fucking move. Like, you gotta respect that. Anyway, so we all sit down, and then her parents proceed to lay out that they have knowledge that we've been engaging in coitus and how they disagree with this. And they're coming at it from a religious belief perspective. And then, like, you know, she says she honestly loves you, and her dad is crying talking to me about this, which I found a little bit like, I expected the reaction to be pissed off and angry, like he'd want to fight, and instead he just wept. And they gave us a speech about how if I were to get to marry her, she wouldn't be able to get into, I wouldn't be able to get into heaven because I'm married to her if we're not equally yoked and I was like, you guys, this isn't going to get anywhere with me, and we've been progressing with our relationship in the face of this. What's your end game here? I didn't say that to him, of course, because I was minding my P's and Q's trying to do damage control at this point. And they came to the decision that we would be able to talk on the phone for 1 hour twice a week, and we couldn't see each other for an entire month. And that hit me pretty hard. I was upset about that day. And because your hormones and everything when you're that young are just out of control, and you get so attached to people, and you just crave that connection. So then the idea that it's going to be gone is horrifying and like stolen from you in that way. And of course, you separate people, it only drives them closer together. So we had to proceed with that. But we did actually manage to engage in some activities during the 1 month span where we weren't even supposed to see each other. Oh, she was homesick from school, and she called me, and she was like, I'm going to be home alone for the next few hours, and I'm sick, but I'm not that sick if you want to come over. And we ended up doing the deed real quick. And right as we're getting done, there's a knock at the fucking door. Like this total oh shit moment. It was her friend from school coming to drop off her homework, and luckily she didn't come in, so she didn't know I was there, and I managed to vacate the premises. But so I had this fucking condom that I couldn't throw away anywhere there, because if somebody finds it, they're gonna know something's up. So I had to put it back in the wrapper and put it in my pocket, and then I had to park way down the block and in a cul-de-sac so that nobody driving by would see my truck there. So I had to walk all the way to my truck, and I ended up throwing this condom wrapper in somebody's garbage can on the side of the road. I get in my truck, and I start to drive away. I get a half a block from her house, and her dad passes me going the opposite direction, heading towards her house. Ooh, close call. We ended up breaking up, but those were some of the struggles of young love. The biggest struggle was when I graduated, because I was ready to branch out and become an adult. I wanted, got a job. I want to move out. I want all this stuff. I want to be able to see my girlfriend. I don't want to still be treated like I'm a little kid. But she was almost 16. She might have turned 16 while we were still dating. So she's still confined within that space. She's still got to behave a certain way. She's still got all these, and all the hoops I had to jump through with her parents, and that struggle eventually just came to the conclusion that it wasn't for me. And I probably was a dickhead about it. I had decided that I was gonna break up with her, and I was a pussy about it. I wrote her a big ass long text message, and I wrote it out at night, and then the next morning I went to work. I had to work at the window manufacturing plant at 5 a.m. So I went to work, and I knew my first break would be at like 7:30 or 8, and that she would be awake and getting ready for school or heading to school. So I took that break, and I fired off that text message, and she got pissed. She was upset. Like, that was not the best way to go about that. Just, I've never been good at confrontation. It makes me uncomfortable. And that felt like the way to separate myself from the impact the most. But it was a total dickhead thing to do, especially after a multi-year relationship to end it that way. And like the stuff it was not. I'd never saw her again. I can't remember the last time I actually saw her. But she ended up hanging out with a friend of mine and getting drunk and making out with him, and then telling me about it on the phone, upset. Then that made me pissed at him. Maybe in the coldest, most dickheadedest move of all time. I had a girl that I was slightly interested in while I was still dating this other girl. I kind of had the hots for somebody. And so once we broke up, I began to pursue that. And that girl is now my wife. So I guess I was onto something. But I'm driving around in the car with my now wife. Then we weren't even dating officially or anything then. We were just hanging out. We'd been co-workers for a while. And I still lived with my parents. And so to get out, I just go drive around in my car, smoke cigarettes, listen to music, stop by McDonald's, see if any of my buddies are working, chill on the patio there. Here near Portland off I-5, there's this big Mormon Disneyland looking church temple thing. And it seems like it would be very obvious how to get to it from the freeway, but it's actually this weird route you have to take around a bunch of shit and come up to it from the back. But there's this area up on a hill that you can park and overlook the grounds, and it's just this kind of crazy, it almost looks like Moscow type construction with those cone-shaped pillars with the balls on top and the weird textures. It's like a castle. And so I'm just chilling with this girl, in my car, listening to music, enjoying this freedom. These constraints are gone. I can just hang out with a girl just go do stuff, and nobody's breathing down our necks and bothering us. And I get a text from my ex, and it says, "I miss you." And I did not know what to say. Almost nothing I could say in that situation is going to help. I really didn't know any. And I don't want to hurt her feelings further, but I probably managed to accomplish that fairly effectively still, because my response to her saying, "I miss you," was, "You'll be okay." Oh, God. In the all-time dickheadedest moves. unintentional too. I did not mean for it to come off that way. I meant to say, like, time heals all wounds. Like, you're just gonna have to rip the Band-Aid off and get over it. Like, you will be okay. There will come a day where you will be okay. That's what I meant to say. And in this circumstance, brevity was not wit, because you'll be okay was not received well. She was actually hanging out at the girlfriend of a buddy of mine, and he was there. And so he witnessed her start drinking heavily after she received that text message. So, I mean, it's hard to make it through this life unscathed and without damaging some people. And you live and you learn. And if I ever... It wouldn't be a good situation for me to try to talk to her again. It wouldn't make my wife happy. Probably wouldn't make the girl comfortable. There's just too much baggage there. But I'd apologize for how I handled that situation. She didn't deserve that. And I was probably legitimately like her first love. I mean, she was 15, 16-year-old girl. And I know that she thought that we were going to grow up, get married and all that. And I probably did too. I legitimately did for a period of time. But I didn't realize what a hurdle her parents would still be through the entirety. I thought maybe they'd warm up to me at some point, but it just wasn't happening. And then the vast change from when I graduated and I suddenly was free and an adult, and she was still a high schooler. Like, it really started to feel like we were different ages, maturity-wise, at that point. And so, what had to be done had to be done. It's better than years down the line. You never know how things would end. Yeah. I hate the phrase, everything happens for a reason, because almost nothing happens for a reason. Or at least there are a lot of things that don't happen for any reason. Like, scientifically, the phrase everything happens for a reason is wholly inaccurate. Some shit just happens. It's just chaos. It's an equation that is so complex we can't understand, so the results that we observe appear to us as chaos. They appear random. There's probably some type of... If you could pull all the way back and look at it from the top, there's probably some hint of organization there, but we aren't able to access it. Wow, I just almost ignored this entire movie ranting about my fucking high school relationships. I had a couple other ones, but that was the main one. And probably the shittiest part is that I had somebody really let me down a couple years before that. And that hurt for like over a week. So I have an idea of what she was going through. And in fact, the situation I'm referring to with me was only like a 4 or 5 month relationship. It wasn't like 2.5 years or whatever I had been with her. So yeah, that's a crater left. That one, if someday you do have to explain your actions, I might have to explain that one.
As much fun as I could when I was stuck in this place. Played as hard as I could.
Had as much fun as I could when I was stuck in this place. Is that the coach or the cop? It's a cop. They're just smoking weed, hanging out on the football field in the middle of the night. It's good. I'm one to talk. I used to live, after I moved out, when I graduated, I lived like a quarter mile from the high school that I graduated from. And I would drive down there, and I knew, because I went there, I knew where the car access was to get to the auto shop, because we had an auto shop class. So you had to be able to get cars in there to work on. And there was access to the football field for like ambulances, golf carts, gators, ATVs, etc. There was access to the football field on that same pathway. So if the gate to the football field was open, you could drive right onto the football field in the middle of the night. And I may or may not have done that on several occasions. Allegedly. See, I thought Nose Pinchin' Boy was going to hook up with the girl his own age, but instead he's hooking up with a slightly older girl, and the girl his age is hooking up with a much older guy. And this is how I got started on that fucking rant to begin. We've circled back. Full circle. Circle back for a circle. Why are you asleep? I'd get smart ass with him. You are a football coach. You aren't in charge of me. We've addressed this before too.
That's the kind of people I was telling you about. Trouble like this means nothing to that bunch of clowns. You're the one with
I don't want to hang out with you. I want to hang out with them. He actually looks tired. I'm well familiar with that look. I look like that most days. Oh, today it was such a fucking undertaking. I was just going from the minute I woke up and barely accomplishing all the shit I wanted to get accomplished. And then that basketball game was such a letdown. I mean, of course they won, but the events therein. I'm actually upset that I just brought it up again, because now I'm thinking about it. Damn that classic Bronco, though. Swaggy. That's it. That a boy. I'll play football if you'll allow me, but I'm not gonna sign your goofy fucking pledge. Go talk to somebody who believes your bullshit authority, because I ain't. Now they gotta drive and get Rolling Stones tickets.
Hey. So that's that, huh?
Everybody have an exposed chest in the 70s? That's because you're too stoned to think of it. I am not familiar with this situation at all. I came home late. I wasn't even doing anything wrong. I just was out late, and I thought that I was allowed to be out late. Nobody told me when to come home.
This is your one get out of jail.
And I got my ass reamed for it.
So I hope you enjoyed it.
But I never just stayed out all night drinking and came home drunk and was like, deal with it. Just too scared of the consequences of that. But the night I did get in trouble for. So as I said before, I used to work graveyard every weekend in high school. Think about the restriction on your freedom and social life that most kids experience when 3 days a week I had to get out of school at 2:50 and be at work at 4. And then on the weekends, I was working graveyard shift. So no Friday night parties, no Saturday night parties, no Saturday afternoon catching a bite in a movie. There was none of that shit in my life. It was school and work, and my social circle were all people I worked with or went to school with. And it slowly turned into nobody I went to school with and only people I worked with. And my best friend and my wife were coworkers in that period of time. So I guess it was a solid group. Anyway, so I got the opportunity to have a weekend day off because it was a 3-day weekend, right? So I didn't have school on Monday. So it was essentially an extra Saturday night. So Sunday night I didn't have to work. So I told my parents I was going to go hang out with my friends, and they said okay. So we just went out, cruised around the town, did dumb shit. We used to do the goofiest fucking shit. Like, we'd be driving through Southwest Portland, and then we saw all these fucking rabbits running across the road. So my buddy jumps out of the car and starts chasing rabbits through a neighborhood. Or we found a homeless guy who was high as Pluto. He's standing on the corner on the sidewalk, and he's stomping on the ground like he's trying to put out a fire. And I was like, what are you doing? And he goes, what? Just totally out of it. No lucidity whatsoever. And I said, what kind of spaceship are we on? I'm just being a smartass. I'm fucking with him. He's high as hell. He's prime target. This is totally fine. He doesn't even know what's going on. So I said, what kind of spaceship are we on? Because it's just me and my 3 buddies in this car. And he goes, the rings of Saturn. We went to another buddy's work, and I had a Ford Ranger at the time, and they had a break area in the back where people go out and smoke and stuff, and they had a bunch of lawn chairs out there, the stackable kind, and I went and stacked them all up, threw them in the back of my truck, and stole them. We ended up being out till like 3:30 in the morning. And I come home, and my mom is sitting there waiting for me, and she's pissed. And I was like, I wasn't under the impression I'd done anything wrong. I'm sorry, I guess. I don't get it. But they were really upset about that. I literally did nothing wrong. I was smoking cigarettes, I think, but I didn't smoke any weed. I didn't drink any booze. I was wearing my seatbelt. I stole his chairs from his work, but I brought them back. My parents were very confused by the chairs in the back of my truck in the morning. That was one of those I forgot they were in there situations, and I just went home, had the interaction with my mom, went to bed, woke up at like noon the next day, and my parents are like, where the fuck did you get the lawn chairs that are in the back of your truck? Said, oh, I stole them from my friend's work. This is like a practical joke, an impractical joke. Well, I hope you enjoyed this commentary on Dazed and Confused. It's been super related to the content. I'm sorry, guys. I'm debating on if I'm even going to label this Dazed and Confused or just call it another podcast. I'm going to have to skim through and give it a little bit of a listen and see exactly how it turned out. It might be a total car wreck. Might be a total car wreck, just like my previous sentence. Or it might be solid gold. It might be what pushes me over the edge. Might be what attracts the grandest audience. I don't know what I'm starting to get tired now, too. So, anyway, I appreciate anybody that stuck through this and listened to my bullshit ramblings. I kind of talked about Dazed and Confused. I kind of didn't. It is what it is. It's not a movie that I felt a tremendous obligation to give a fair shake in the, theorizing insight category. It's just kind of face value what it is. So you can put it on and see a few of my references, or you can just listen to me talk about shitty relationships and broken legs. Anyway, thanks for listening. Please click the like button, subscribe, comment, share, all that good shit. And until the next time, this is Devin saying, be easy.